welcome to Enots Engineering. I'm Alan. In today's video, this is part 2 of making a fixture that fits on the Warden cutter grinder to grind circular saw blades. We'll show how to make the fixture and how to use it on the Warden. So let's go into the workshop to see how we do it. In the last video, we made the block to position the saw blade. This is 50mm diameter. We turn this down to 30mm, drilled and tapped straight through, and then put it in the milling machine. Machine this cut out. I've just milled a small recess here to miss a cap head that's on the table lock. This is the table on the tool and cutter grinder. This was the radius table I made recently, and this fits on there. Goes on with that flat up against the face there. The only thing I've done to this is drill and tap a hole there and countersink it. So that goes on there. Countersunk screw goes through the back into there. Tighten that up. And that screws up. And the locking pin that goes here, I've just replaced it with a cap head, which is a lot shorter. You can lock that in position. And the saw blade fits on there. This is the biggest saw blade, which is a 10-inch blade. I've just fitted my boring bar in the tool holder. I want to machine a recess 30mm diameter and about 3mm deep. So I've zeroed the tip of the boring bar on the face, and I'm going to go 3mm deep. $29.85. That's just fitting on there nicely. I've moved in so when I part this off it will be about 5mm thick. Some oil. Slow it down a bit. So what I'll do is just put a centre drill down the middle, use the centre to steady it. And before I go too deep, I want to put a chamfer on each side. I'll use my parting off tool for that. And I should be able to chamfer that. Just change to a different tool to get a better finish. changed to a 3-jaw chuck. I'm going back to the disc that we made, clamping washer, and I'm just going to hold it on the outside of the jaws. Just to face off the back face where I parted it off. And all I need to do is just put a chamfer on the hole, and for that I use my centre drill. And that's the clamping disc finished. The cutout here misses the cap head, so this can slide right up to the end of the stop. And also the brass screw that's a locking screw, you take that out. I've slid this along just off centre. This is the centre of the table. You can see the centre of the wheel's about there. And the cap head only needs to be tightened by hand, because you have to turn the blade around. If you lock the blade, you won't be able to turn. And the idea is you can turn the blade round in front of the wheel. I'm using this side of the wheel, so the wheel will be going that way, down. Align the edge of the tooth parallel to the edge of the wheel, so you can move the saw blade backwards and forwards in front of the wheel, but I've got no way of controlling where the teeth are. So what I did for that is you need a piece of broken hacksaw blade, magnetic base. It's about 3 inches long, it doesn't matter, it's not important. All I had to do was to this hacksaw blade was make the hole bigger in the end so that the clamping screw could fit through, and I've added a washer so it clamps easy. Now that clips onto the table and make sure that the magnet doesn't touch the blade. Then you can adjust this arm. Now what I'm looking at is getting the tooth level with the blade, and then to maintain the same position, just take this hacksaw blade in the magnetic clamp, move it in so the blade is just touching. Then I can move the table along, turn the saw blade to the next tooth and grind the next tooth. I noticed I've got a tooth missing here on this one. Well, that's set up for grinding. And the top of the tooth is parallel to the wheel. So if I move that out the way a little bit, and to get to the next tooth, just move it round, move it back, and then I can grind the next tooth. The hacksaw blade is acting as a positional stop. Every time I grind one tooth, the next one will come to the same position. So you position your saw tooth so it's facing to the centre of the wheel, and then set it so, move your table in and out until it's touching the width of your tooth. You know you've set that at the right angle. Then put the clamp on and just tighten that by hand, because you need to be able to turn the saw blade round to the next tooth. And with a piece of hacksaw blade held in a magnetic stand, just position the hacksaw blade so it's just touching this piece and touches the saw blade tooth. And to turn it round to the next tooth, you just do this, bring it back, and that's the next tooth ready to be ground. And with your hand, just hold the blade up against the tooth to stop the tooth from moving. And the other hand, you guide the carriage across the wheel. Then turn the blade past the stop, back to the finger, and that's ready for the next tooth to be ground. And you just keep doing that until you've done all the teeth. And make sure the wheel is rotating downwards. Once you've gone all the way around, you can check the teeth. All the teeth have been sharpened on the outside. I'm not doing the edges as they're not worn, and it would take another fixture to grind the edges. They don't take that much wear on the edges. It's the top of the tooth that gets all the wear. That's better. You can see the teeth there where I've sharpened them. I found the magnetic stand is the easiest way of holding the finger. I was going to drill some holes in the table and make something else, but this is more practical, easier to remove. You can set the finger here really close to the wheel. And if you do touch the finger on the grinding wheel, it's only a bit of hacksaw blade, so you can make another one. But I found that effective. I remember doing that when I was an apprentice, working on a cutter grinder. We used to use a bit of hacksaw blade because it's springy and it's quite firm. Just make sure that you've clamped everything up tight. Give it a test run first without the wheel on, and everything's working okay. I've just fitted the blade. See how it cuts. Cut that piece, that thin, cut another strip. It's a nice edge on both sides. This is just an old piece of wood. So that works okay. Well, that's it for today. Hope that was interesting. Hope it's useful. See you next time on Enots Engineering.